I've seen a lot of stories on the internet, and definitely, one place I always say everybody confesses things is TikTok. And I've seen many videos from people who are they have a black parent and a white parent. I noticed that black and white mixture, the kids deal with a lot more issues and problems than they would if they were, say, black and Hispanic, black and Asian, black and, Native American, black and Arab, or whatever. I noticed that particular mixture is hella problems. Case in point, this one woman is going to talk about her actual mother and the reason her mama gave her up for adoption. Let's go ahead and roll that clip.
Of you that don't know this part of my story, I'm going to fill you in. I was given up for adoption when I was 6 months old by a Caucasian woman. And yeah, she was dating black men. And they found out about it and they were all too unhappy. When I was adopted, I was given this whole story about how my mother struggled with, and this is my biological mother, struggled with giving me up for adoption and really, just contemplated keeping me. And my entire life, I held on to that story. Well, come to find out, she did not contemplate keeping me. As a matter of fact, they waited 6 months to see if I darkened up. And apparently my very African American features came, shining through, and they were not able to keep me. So I relate so much to this story because let me tell you, there's one thing to be given up for adoption. And there's another thing to find out that one of the main reasons you were given up for adoption is because you were black. A year and I believe a day or so after I was born, she gave birth to another child, which was a boy. And she gave that child up for adoption as well, who was also half black. So let me tell you, especially the 70s and 80s are filled with adoptees, biracial adoptees, that, women went out and had relationships. I guess some of them maybe were in love, some of them weren't, but had relationships with black men. But they weren't able to keep the baby. So not only did that child have to grow up with the understanding that they were adopted, but they also had to grow up with the knowledge that their identity was going to be a struggle. So they kind of were left hanging in that respect. So I identify with this woman's story. I identify with this woman's experience. Although my adoptive family, that was a whole different struggle. Whole different struggle.
The interesting part of what she was saying is that her biological mother, a white woman, liked to lay down with black men, and she's laying down with black men with no protection, obviously, and she have her. Keep her 6 months to see if she turned dark or her black features come in. It happens that they give her up for adoption. The mama is a straight, slutting herself out, actually. And she goes lay down with another black man and has a son and give this child up too. And what I've seen growing up over the years that, different people that I've known who had a, black father and a white mother, they was the most confused. Or they had, a lot of identity problems. Some of them, it can come from the outside on those kids and also come from within. The outside, some black people say they're not black enough. Yes, you got black people that say that, and don't lie, we know you say it. Of course, you got white people say they ain't white because they black. You got one drop of black blood, you're black. So go over there with the blacks. And so, because you know how racist they are, their mindset on genetic annihilation. But, something else I had to think about at the same time, even though Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talked about the genetic annihilation and why they, fear that, and that's why they can't accept any child, especially from black people, right? But other groups fear that too, because you got to think about it. Any especially let's say black men, and the women too, but let's talk about black men. We lay down and make a baby with any woman, that baby won't come out black, period. That's how strong and dominant our genes are. And these other groups know that we can wipe them out too. You know, y'all always talking about, white folks thinking that way, but all these other groups that have this anti-blackness, if you think about it, most of it's rooted in genetic annihilation too. So, we can wipe out as black men any group without even going to war if we wanted to. But I've always seen the confusion, with these children, and even growing up, they have a confusion with identity. Now, I noticed the females have more of an identity issue than the males. The males, some of them, they'll just probably identify as black. You have a few of them that try to identify the other side, but they just not gonna have it. So of course that bothers them. You have some of them, become, the most pro-black person you ever seen. They hardcore pro-black than the most darker skinned black person from the continent of Africa could ever be, right? Hardcore pro-black. Females too, hardcore pro-black. Got black boyfriends, black everything, right? She is really identifying with her black side. But they go through a time, of confusion, or they go through where they be around some of their family members that are just straight up Klan, just racist against them, and that hurts them. Or sometimes these white parents that want to keep them in the lily white community, and those children go through torture in the lily white community because that the pastime for the community is anti-black racism. And even though this woman's light-skinned, she's still not white. And that's exactly how they look at her. She is a black woman. She is a N-word to them. And actually, they're more, leery of women that look like her because they're like, oh, she could sneak in them black jeans and on the low. You understand what I'm saying? So what she had went through and found out about her mom gave her up and all of that, like I say, it's a plenty of stories like that. But this is my thing. If you don't like black people and your family, white women, will not accept black people, why do you go lay down with black men? And the interesting part is, I know it's crazy, but you got white women who are racist and still want to go sleep with black men. Yes, they are racist, but they were doing the same thing on the plantation. They hated black people, but the male and the female were still sleeping with black people, even though they had them enslaved and forcing black people. The women forced the males to sleep with them too, many times. It's not that always the men was just willing to do that. They forced them. You can read the book, They Were Her Property, and it goes through a lot of the things that these women were doing, even the black men, during the antebellum South.
Of you that don't know this part of my story, I'm going to fill you in. I was given up for adoption when I was 6 months old by a Caucasian woman. And yeah, she was dating black men. And they found out about it and they were all too unhappy. When I was adopted, I was given this whole story about how my mother struggled with, and this is my biological mother, struggled with giving me up for adoption and really, just contemplated keeping me. And my entire life, I held on to that story. Well, come to find out, she did not contemplate keeping me. As a matter of fact, they waited 6 months to see if I darkened up.
But if you don't like black people, your family like black people, why are you laying down with black men? It doesn't make sense. But it's always been like that with a lot of them. They family don't like black people. They want to go and mess with black men even more. And black men, I would say to you, don't make babies with those women. Because this is the thing. People have a documented history of hatred of us, torture of our people. And they have not rectified that. It has not changed as a collective of people. I'm not saying individuals can't be cool and all of that, not saying that. But we're talking about the collective is on white supremacy and anti-black racism. And with that being said, you, brother, have a choice not to subject your child to that. Don't be such an idiot and being not responsible when you laying down that you prevent, listen, there was a thing back in the 90s, hey, I knock down who I'm gonna knock down, but when I get married, I'm only marrying, whoever you want to marry. But back then it would be like they married a sister, right? So it said, I'm not gonna ever impregnate one of them. But my thing is, even fool with them in that manner is too much trouble. Look at Bill Cosby right now. Look at all the issues and problems he had by fooling with those women. Do you see about 20 black women bringing him up on anything? Or Asian women, or Hispanic women, or Arab women, or any of those other women? No, just those women. Those women historically has caused black men many issues and problems. And I'm not lying about it. I don't care what you say about me in the comments section. You know good and well the documented history, how they have caused us so many issues and problems. So I'm a firm believer of you can eliminate a lot of issues and problems for yourself if you just avoid certain things. And, a lot of brothers, like I said, of course, even the ones that's traveling and they being the passport kings, they're not going to European countries. They're going to countries where the women aren't European. But in this country, some dudes are still on that, unfortunately. Now, my thing is, just don't make no children. Just don't make no children. If you're not going to be with her, don't do it. That's the only thing that I'm saying about that. To each his own, but I don't like to hear the stories of the children because there's so many of these stories out there, how those people have been so racist toward the children, very, very racist toward them. And y'all brothers can prevent that. Now, of course, we know the women are making babies with white men. We know that. But 9 times out of 10, those babies are left with the black women if the white man decides that he don't want to fool with them. They're not being raised by them folks. But let me know what y'all think about, what this sister's saying, because like I said, I hate to hear stories like that because they go through a lot, and a lot of times they do need therapy, and this is something that can be very preventable.